Hi, welcome to Centerville Reports Today. I'm Maureen Russell Hodson. The Centerville-Washington Foundation is gearing up for its annual meeting, and during that meeting they will be awarding the first Community Impact Grant. Here to tell us more from the Centerville-Washington Foundation, we have Mike Bevis, who is the president, Denny Lammlein, who is the recipient representing the organization. He'll be receiving that grant, and Bob Hanseman, who is the secretary and grants chair. And thank you all very much for being here. So this is exciting when we're talking about $10,000 grant, but before we get there, Mike, tell us, what is the Centerville-Washington Foundation?
I will be glad to do so, Maureen. Thank you. I think the Centerville-Washington Foundation is a community partner for charitable giving. We have been around for 20 years, and we help people help our community. I think that we're probably a well-kept secret in many situations. People don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that we are on TV with you today, so thank you. We're a building block for our community. We work with nonprofits to provide funds for projects, things like that. We operate under the Dayton Foundation, and so that helps us with guidance and with direction in that area today. I think a lot of people are not aware of the number of nonprofits that are here in the Centerville-Washington Township area. There are many of them, and all of them need help. Right. That's why I say that we're a building block for our community. There are so many projects that require additional funding. It may be a youth projects. It could be help for the schools or for the parks or for the humanities or for art, for seniors, many other opportunities that are there that need additional funding. Without the funding from foundations like the Centerville-Washington Foundation, they wouldn't be able to move forward and do these things that are so important to our community.
And you had mentioned it's been around for 20 years, but you're right, it could be a little bit of a secret for folks. So we'll make sure that as we go throughout the program, you have ways to connect with the foundation. But the way that you distribute money is through grants.
Correct.
And typically you distribute 2 grant cycles and several small grants each time, right, Bob?
That's correct, Maureen. Typically and traditionally, during the last 20 years, we've had what we call a spring grant cycle and a fall grant cycle. The fall grant cycle applications are typically due March 1st, so we are in the process of evaluating those. And then we have a fall grant cycle as well. And traditionally, we set aside a certain amount of money, equal amount of money for both cycles, and then we solicit grant applications, receive them, and evaluate them, and then apportion the money accordingly. And the amount of money that we are able to give, thanks to our community support, has been growing each year. And in the last couple of years, we've been giving out $10,000 per grant cycle. And sort of the genesis of this community impact grant is that we thought maybe for one of those annual grant cycles, instead of dividing the money up from, for 5 to 7 grant applicants, we would combine the funds and give them to one grant applicant. Obviously, you're giving, you're not giving to as many people, but you're hoping that the money can be used to have a greater impact for the actual recipient. And so we decided to do that. We had hoped to do this first community impact grant late last year, and because it's so new and because we're still developing our criteria, it got pushed into the spring, and that's what our recent announcement was. But because we want to traditionally, going forward, do this in the fall, we're actually going to do it again.
Oh my goodness, okay.
This year, and we're going to give another $10,000 away in the fall, as well as proceed with our spring grant cycle, which we're still in the process of, and that'll be for $20,000. So if you combine the 2 community grants that we'll give away this year, plus the spring cycle, we'll be giving $40,000 away this year.
Unbelievable. Now that is not a secret, because I think that the nonprofits do know about the foundation, and they're very excited, and I know very appreciative of all the good work you do. So Denny, your organization, St. Vincent de Paul Society of Incarnation Conference, received this very first grant. Big surprise for you? I bet it must be delightful to.
Well, it was. First of all, I want to thank the Washington Centerville Foundation for providing this grant. We were happy to hear about the competition and get involved.
You like to get that phone call? That was
that was just amazing.
Right.
$10,000 is a nice sum of money to supplement what we normally do in the community. And we do a lot of things through the Incarnation Conference right now, but the normal things we do to help the families, the neighbors we call them, all the folks that need help in the community are basically, food or help with their utilities and rent. But what we're going to do with this $10,000, if you want me to go ahead.
Please do, tell us, because we're excited.
Is the big part of it is sponsoring, facilitating what's called a Getting Ahead program.
Okay.
And this is a project or an initiative that started about maybe 15, 20 years, but only in the last 3 years in the Dayton area. And this is only the second workshop that's going to be held here in the Incarnation area. We're going to run it at the Incarnation Church. Right now we're in the stage of finding the investigators, we call them, the people that are going to be, that need the help. We're out there recruiting them right now. They're going to be the people that are going to work in this workshop. And the objective is to get ahead, to learn why they're in poverty.
Skills and
exactly.
Okay.
Budgeting, facilitating, managing, and it's some life skills in addition to budgeting and so forth. And it's and our facilitators are not teachers. They get there to facilitate. They don't give out any answers. They get the folks together and they communicate once, amongst themselves. And after 16 weeks, they can start using these skills.
Okay, and it's called Getting Ahead program.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to kick that off once you have X number of
Right. We're looking for, and this is a small, intimate group. It's about anywhere from 12 to 15 students that we're going to recruit. And they actually get in a room like this around a table. And each week there's 16 or 10 modules that we cover in 16 weeks, and they work together to make solutions themselves. They use artwork, boards that they draw on and so forth, and come together, and they have homework and so forth. And since they are working while they're doing this, we actually give them, that's part of what the funds are used for, is to give them a small stipend for coming each week. It might just be a $20 Kroger gift card or something, but that helps motivate them. But they're actually earning the money because they're providing input to this get-together.
What a huge impact that's going to make, not
so.
only on the recipients who are there, but also their families.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think you all did well when you chose that. Is it hard when you get these grants to go through? I mean, you must be very difficult.
Bob has a strong committee that. How many did we receive for this grant, Bob? Do you remember?
I believe this most recent grant, we received about 8 applications, maybe 9, and we're still in the process of going through them. Our committee has met, but the board has not met to evaluate those.
But for this one, though, we had the final 3 come in and make presentations.
Okay.
Yes, that's something we don't do for the smaller grants,
Yeah.
but for $10,000, Denny came in and told us all essentially what he just told you and what they would intend to do with the money, as well as 2 other finalists as well. And you're right, it can be hard to make such a decision because there is so much need in our community. As affluent as it is, there's still so much need. So we actually have divided up into certain categories of support that we look for. Civic programs would be one. Education and health is another. Arts and the humanities is another. Social services, and then finally conservation and environmental programs. And so the program that Denny represents fits into both the education and the social services kind of buckets of that. As you indicated, they're going to be providing a lot of education to people. So that's kind of the way that we evaluate them.
That's exciting, and I would imagine you'd want to follow up and see what the impact is 6 months, a year down the road, because this is truly the gift that's going to keep on giving for your folks, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What other services do you provide the folks who utilize St. Vincent de Paul?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a large base of folks that we help. There's up to 500 individuals or families that receive either occasional or fairly frequent help.
And they are local, and I think that's always a surprise to people, that there is a great need.
5859 zip codes right here, and you don't realize there's that much. According to the Bureau of Census, in the last census, they said that 5859, about 7 to 9% of our people are below the poverty level. So there are people out there with needs. There's generational poverty. There's situational poverty. I mean, you or I could lose our job, and all of a sudden, whoops, can't make the house payment next month. So it's across the board, all kinds of folks that we help.
Well, we're very fortunate that organizations like yours exist, and like the foundation. It's helping people help our community. Obviously, this is one way. Another way that you can learn more about it is by attending your annual meeting, which is really exciting, and you've got a great keynote speaker, right?
Our annual meeting is on Wednesday, April 24th. It's being held at Yankee Trace. It is, will go from 5:30 till about 7 o'clock, I believe, in that area there. We have a motivational speaker, Fran Kick, who will be our speaker.
Kick it into gear, right? Isn't that what the name of this program?
Kick it into gear is absolutely right. We welcome everyone. If you need more information regarding the Centerville-Washington Foundation, they can always call us at, of course, 937-265-0110, or they could email us, which is at CW Foundation. Check this here, CWFoundation45@gmail.com. CWFoundation45@gmail.com. We welcome anyone to attend this annual meeting. It's important for people in the community to know what's going on. We love living here in the Centerville-Washington Township area. We want to make it a better place to live. That's why we have continued to increase our grants. I think it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, Bob, wasn't it, that we were giving, how much a year? Maybe 10, 15,000. That's why we've grown this to 20,000 and 30,000 and 40,000. So we talked a little bit about charitable giving, but if you're not sure exactly who to support, what charities you'd like to support, we welcome donations to the foundation. We are reaching out to certain businesses to try to get additional support. Also, we have the opportunities for legacy giving, so if people would like to leave the Centerville-Washington Foundation in their will, that can always be arranged, and we also have charitable checking accounts which go there. So different ways that people can be involved with our foundation.
And a good way to learn more about that would be to attend the annual meeting, so you could have a couple minutes with one of the members to tell us more about it, right?
Correct, exactly right. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
And again, we want to remind you all that annual meeting is on Wednesday, April 24th at 5:30 at the Golf Club at Yankee Trace. And a good place to go for more information would be their website also, which is Centerville-WashingtonFoundation.org. During the annual meeting also, you said you'll have a keynote speaker.
Have a keynote speaker.
And then will you make the presentation of the $10,000 check, or how does that work? Because Denny wants that money, right, Denny?
Actually, they've sent me the check
Oh,
about a
it's
month
already
ago.
been paid. Oh, wonderful.
We're already working on that project.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, we're
Oh,
starting.
that's great.
Yeah.
But we will talk about the grant a little bit and about what St. Vincent de Paul will be doing with the money. And we also typically, and I believe this year as well, will have displays from the last set of grants. We invite them to come and set up a little display and show everybody what they're doing with their grant money.
Just give us an idea of some of the other organizations who have benefited from the foundation.
We've recently given money to organizations such as Clothes That Work, the Washington Township Rec Center, Living Water, Lutheran Church, Friends of Project Read, which is a reading program, the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance, and Girls on the Run. And we have given multiple grants in the past to some of these organizations. I'm thinking of, I believe, TJ's Place of Hope, Hannah's Treasure Chest, and of course we're also a sponsor of the Woodland Lights festival that goes on each year. So we sometimes give multiple grants. We tend to prefer to not support an organization more than 3 years in a row. We have sort of an informal rule about that we'll have a year off at least prior to resuming support, because we want organizations to stand on their own, obviously, as well. So, but we have given money multiple times to some of these organizations.
Well, you have made a great impact on our community, so I thank you for all of your good work, and looking forward to seeing the great things that are coming out of St. Vincent de Paul Society. Your next grant cycle is September 1st, right? Deadline?
Correct, but that will also be a $10,000 grant. Yes, but I believe it's in September, and we'll be putting out notices about that.
And the best place to go for that would be your website?
Correct.
Okay, which is Centerville-WashingtonFoundation.org. Thank you so much for all your good work. I look forward to seeing some great things, some impactful things coming from the foundation. For more information, you can feel free to give us a call at 433-7151 or visit our website, centervilleohio.gov. That's going to do it for this show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.